I'd like you to join me today at the Caird Library at the National Maritime Museum to look at a number of documents by way of introduction to this year's International Slavery Remembrance Day. The documents I want to share with you today, I think, really expose the nature, the genuine depravity of the trade in human lives across the Atlantic between the 16th and 19th centuries. Now, here you see a typical piece of tabulated information. It's from the year 1796, and it's a list of slaves, enslaved people, on the Waterhouse and Tunbridge plantation in Jamaica. Not just a list of slaves, but also with their increase and decrease. It's a business document, but the business is people. What people, you ask? Well, clearly, these are people of African origin. Not that we'd know with a cursory glance at the names here. And you can see how it's tabulated. You've got a list of men, you've got a list of women, and you have girls and boys as well. So they're differentiated by sex and age. However, the stories really jump out when you look at the names. For example, the very first name in this list is the name Vulcan. You also have the name Bob. You have Neptune, Brutus, Hector. You have a whole host of these Greco-Roman names which were given to African people. These are people whose names have been, largely speaking, removed, and often being given farcical names, place names, such as Kent, Portsmouth, Waterhouse. Waterhouse, obviously someone is named after the estate where he lives and works, and could even have been born. You also have, interestingly, a couple of people who have somehow been given African names, or perhaps, a miracle of miracles, have retained their African names. And you have the two in particular, Kwashi and Kofi, which we know are particularly names from what is now Ghana. So there's some interesting stories here. Why these names were given, obviously, it's part of a process by which the enslaved people are being separated from their origins. And the surprising pop-up of the name Kwashi and Kofi amongst this. What is the story here? And similarly with women, you've got very period names, late 18th century names, Nanny, Fanny, Minnie, etc., Betsy. But then again, you've got the more general names like Duchess and Love. But yeah, the story is the same here, but it reminds us that it's at once a human story. We are talking about human lives here, but in this form, it's revealed as a story of business. The two collide in the most horrible and prosaic manner imaginable. Just to continue that theme, this is a document which for me is possibly the most personal document in this collection. This collection, I should have prefaced by saying, is the Michael Graham Stewart collection, which focuses on the history of enslavement between the 18th and the early 20th century. There are 214 or 41 documents, and they tell stories which are similar to this one, which is extremely personal for me. And it takes us to the island of Antigua. Now, the island of Antigua is where my family is from. Both of my parents were born there, and we're going back to the year 1781. And the object we'll be looking at is a list of Negroes when the estate was rented to a Monsieur or Mr. Thibault in that year. What is immediately affecting to me is that, like most people of my background, most people of African Caribbean origin, our family histories are completely unreliable before the 1860s, 1850s. Certainly my family history just goes back to a semi-mythological Peg-leg Martin in the 1860s, which makes this so pressingly involving for me, because any of these people could have been an ancestor of mine. Let's look at these people. And again, just look at the shape of this information takes. On the left hand, you'll see the names of these individuals, often with the trade or craft that they were employed or engaged in. And to the right, you will have the price of the person. This is their value in pounds. Gruesome document. Let's go into it. At the top, coming in at a value of £100, you have someone by the given name of Boston. Boston is a distiller and a driver. He's worth £100, one of the more expensive lives on this sheet, because of course a distiller has a specialized occupation. Then you have Prince, the most highly valued life on this sheet. Prince is a boiler, similar to the distiller. He is a very specialized craftsperson, and his life goes for a commensurate price. You see how the prices vary and how the lives are valued. You've got Jacob, who is apparently only worth £25 because he is, as they say, ruptured. You have younger people on here. The price is lowered. Joe, a child of Hagar's, £12. Peter, a child of Peggy's, £10. You have, of course, the differential in price between men and women. This is one of the ugliest documents I've ever seen, but it points to the importance of accessing material like this. Join us at the National Maritime Museum, Greenwich, for the commemoration of the International Slavery Remembrance Day on the 23rd of August between 11 and 5 o'clock.